Good morning, Bitcoin. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is Proof of Work. Proof of Work is a show about the people behind Bitcoin and how they got here. We're joined by Kevin from the Breaking Bitcoin convention. How's it going, Kevin?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to go ahead and start off with everyone's most favorite and familiar question. Kevin, what was your first computer?
My first computer was a crappy Acer, mid-tool computer. Didn't work. I think all the Acer computer just didn't work at the time.
Yeah.
That's how they built such a great brand after, right?
It's so affordable.
People still hate
yeah.
it. So yeah, it was shit. Didn't work. It was in '99, so I was still a kid, and I wanted to play video games, and it didn't work. And then I discovered graphic cards and shit like that, and yeah, starting to play around with the inside of this horrendous computer.
So it didn't work, but it drew you into the inside. Did you try changing out the RAM, changing out the processor, the graphics card? Was it the motherboard?
That's the thing, because like when you're a kid and you really want to play a video game and the thing doesn't work, you're not giving up. You're like, no. I am going to make it work. So yeah, it changed about everything, like absolutely everything. And it actually brought me to do some overclocking and stuff. And over the year, I did a lot of shit, like up to like competition with liquid nitrogen and stuff.
Whoa, so serious.
Just because of a crappy computer. Thanks, Acer.
There you go. And of course, I have the older stories. We used to have different versions of our AutoExec and config sys for different memory configurations for different games. So if you wanted more virtual memory, you'd load this. And if you want less virtual memory, you'd load this. And of course, this was a time where you'd load every game from DOS, because if you went into Windows and then loaded your game, is it going to load slow, and it doesn't run in a window. And yeah, we had different memory configurations for booting the machines. So.
Yeah, for me it was like Age of Empires 2 already, so it was like amazing graphics.
So you had a computer that wouldn't let you play games. Is there anything else you did with the computer? Photoshop, typing tutors, anything educational that you got out of it?
No, probably not. I got internet like maybe a year or 2 years after, so I had a computer without internet, which kind of sound weird for the kids now.
It's like a black box.
What do you
put
do
it
with
in a closet. Yeah, you can't connect to anything.
You try to fix it first. That's the first thing. How do you fix it? How do you know?
Connect
Google.
it to the internet. Yeah. No Google.
Just play with it. So no, nothing crazy. I didn't really go into coding or anything like that, especially not early on. So.
And from there, did you continue with computers, or did you kind of drift away? Did you study them in school, or was it just kind of a hobby?
It became a passion, actually. So yeah, doing all this hardware stuff. So first computer was shit. So second computer, I was like, how do I build a computer myself? Because like, I'm not going to buy another one. And that was the amazing time of the Athlon CPU. I don't know if you remember them, but the first ones were amazing because you could actually overclock them with a pencil. So you had on the CPU, so they were disabling or changing the price of the CPU by just disabling or slowing it down.
Sure.
But you still had the copper thing that you could link together to overclock it manually with just some carbon things. That was fun. And my parents thought I was crazy. I was like, hey, I'm gonna make it twice as fast with this pen. And like, what the fuck? And it actually works, So
I couldn't believe it when they were selling the same exact chip, or I even heard for hard drives the same kind of thing. They were putting a limiter on it, and it was the same hard drive. And I was like, why are they doing this? Why don't they just give me a bigger hard drive? I'd be happier, they'd be happier. But they needed a brand. They needed a line of small, medium, and large. And if they couldn't have one, they would artificially create one.
Yeah, so that's, that became a passion, and I really loved playing with computers. And with my life, I wanted to become actually one of the guys building these chips. So that's why I studied what I studied, which is not IT, but it was physics. So I wanted to work for like company like Intel or AMD or whatever in photolithography. So I studied quantum computing and shit like that. No, sorry, quantum physics, not quantum computing.
Yeah.
Quantum physics, so going deep into the nanoscale and trying to figure out how to scale down chips. And in the end of the day, I'm into Bitcoin. So, shit happened,
really
I guess.
Came together, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were studying that in school. Did you graduate? Did you get a job in that? What happened next?
I dropped out, but yeah, I went to a university, an engineering school in France, studying nanotech, and I dropped out because I discovered that it was not as fancy as it looks. It's not all about, oh, let's build a wormhole and it's gonna be fun. No, it's more like mathematical equation everywhere, and you don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's all day. And then when you have the result, you still don't know if it's good or not because you don't understand shit anyway. I was kind of, realizing maybe this is not as cool as I thought. So I quit, started to work for Microsoft actually for a year, and then moved to another company. And after that, I started my first business and ended up in Bitcoin for regulatory reasons.
What was your first business, and how did you? Was it a slap on the wrist? Or did you have to spend some time inside?
Yeah. So no, I wanted to work on new payment methods, contactless payment chips.
Yeah.
And including like subcutaneous implants and stuff.
Sure. We've met Martin, Mr. Bitcoin. He meets everybody. He's like, this right here is Bitcoin. This one's Litecoin. This one's the door to my house. Yeah. He got the chips.
So I found that really funny, and I was working on that. And so I was working on different prototypes. And when I had some working prototypes, I went to see some VCs, and I was like, hey, look, I have an idea, and I think it's cool, and I need money. And the first question they ask is, hey, what about regulation and payment licenses? I'm like, what's a payment license? And then I discovered I did not want to do that, and I ended up kind of giving up. And the startup in Dublin called Hascoin, they were doing a full implementation of Bitcoin in Haskell.
Okay.
Don't know if it still exists actually. I think it's still maintained. So Hascoin contacted me and they were like, hey, these chips are pretty cool. I think we could do stuff for Bitcoin with it. And I was like, oh yeah, what's this Bitcoin thing, And they explained me, Bitcoin is money, but central bank and stuff, they don't matter. You don't get any regulation out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, this sounds really cool. It's actually, you're fixing all my problems.
Yeah.
And they invited me to work in the same co-working space as them. So I learned everything from them, and I was like, core dev level people. Starting with like no knowledge, directly with these guys, and having the pile of all the Bitcoin magazine, the paper ones, on the desk. Because like, this is a dream. Like I don't think I could have started in a better place in Bitcoin. Actually.
I was going to say you're incredibly lucky. One of the big things I always blame for taking me so long to get into Bitcoin is I had nobody else to talk to who agreed with me. I told my roommate, he was a computer programmer, and I thought he knew more than me. And he's like, I don't think it's a thing. So, and I talked to some other people, and they're like, probably not. So I was like, okay, I'll put it in the background for a couple of years. And I came back to it. And the same thing, I still had no one to talk to about it. Except this time I decided, well, it must be the thing. I saw the Cyprus event and the $300 run, and I was like, oh, okay. And then plus, for me, Coinbase and BitPay, even though they become sadly not our friends anymore, at the time, it was like, wow, you built real businesses around this. People can use it. You don't have to go to the command line anymore. I could even see then that the early adopters would get rich, but I thought I missed it at $1, and I thought I missed it at $30. And then we went to 300. I was like, oh, I really missed it now. Yeah. And I tried to get a handful or whatever. I didn't have any money, but I put it in. Actually, it went to 75, which helped me out a little.
So
bit.
You dumped, and you were like,
no. It was so hard then because you had to get your money into a wallet account into Mt. Gox. And Mt. Gox was starting to shut down. Dwala was starting to shut down. And I couldn't get my money there fast enough to buy the 300. By the time my money was there, it was to 75. Or I think I'd found Coinbase. And I was like, this is really cool. And I'm going to try this out. But it was very tough to get started without having someone to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And you not only had someone, but core developer level people. So what did you do after you got all this great knowledge? You started writing BIPs and refreshing spelling errors.
I wish.
Core developer now, and you and Peter Todd first name basis. Yeah,
so when you start with people like that, for them everything is clear. Like it's clear for us now, maybe the kind of ideology behind Bitcoin, and you understand what Bitcoin is maybe and what it's for, or at least you have your own understanding of it.
Yeah.
And when you just join, you're like, I don't care about this censorship-resistant thing. I just want free money. I want faster payments. Oh, wow, that's great. I can do a payment card, and it's going to be cheap, and all the merchants will use it. No, it doesn't work like that. But anyway, maybe one day. not at the time. So I was probably being a pain to them, like a lot, arguing about everything, and probably being a shitcoiner extraordinaire at the time. Even there were not much shitcoins back then, but yeah.
It's tough not to. At one point, I realized that I should have named myself Mad Litecoins, and I just could have picked up Litecoins across the entire board, and
wow.
been friends with Charlie Lee and all this stuff, and I would have went crazy up, and the same things would have happened. But yeah, it would have worked out a lot better.
Yeah.
And still, I don't even like Litecoin, but
it took me a while. It really took me a while, and I think I'm a very, I don't know, maybe pessimistic kind of guy, or at least.
There's a lot of us around.
Also,
it's
breaking
not that
Bitcoin
bad,
is kind of part of that, right? I'm always trying to find the bad thing about the project because it's the best way to make it better, in my opinion. It's not to just all be a circle jerk of like, oh, Bitcoin is amazing. It's a honey badger cannot die, whatever. I don't believe in that. I think it's still shit, and we need to work harder to make it better. But the older ones are really shit, so let's not touch them.
Well, if you want to talk about the bad things of Bitcoin and breaking Bitcoin. It's been, I guess, a couple of years now, but I have to ask you, what do you think about my friend JJ breaking Bitcoin right there at the Breaking Bitcoin conference in Paris?
Right.
I thought it was exciting. I was in the audience, and I know JJ, and he was like, they told me not to do this, and they told me not, and then watch this. And JJ command line breaks all the Bitcoin.
Yep.
And then there was some yelling in the back as Elizabeth Stark was mad. And then Peter Todd was really mad and asking angry questions. And the whole time I was like, I should be filming this. And I didn't have the right stuff. But from the inside, what was it like for you? I imagine it wasn't near as fun as it was for me in the audience. So.
No, wasn't. Yeah, so that is actually still something we're going to carry now as a legacy to Breaking Bitcoin. And some people were really not happy with us, the organization, to not have like a kill switch, whatever. But I mean, when you're organizing a conference, you don't have a fucking kill switch for speakers, right?
There's so much going on already. I mean, if you want a kill switch, it practically kills every conference organizer I see running around, being really nervous. I was talking to Adam, who's running CoinFest right now in the UK, and he was still running around spinning like a top, and it was like 1:30 last night. I was like, man, go home, get some sleep. I don't know how you're going to do this all day tomorrow. And he was like, oh, it'll be fine. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. But so they don't just want to kill the organizers. They want to stop the presentation, stop the whole thing. No. And I mean, it was pretty bad. Peter Todd had some good points when he was questioning JJ. He was talking about things like, yes, you told the Bitcoin core devs, but did you tell, say, the Litecoin core devs or all the other projects that are based on Bitcoin that could have this similar error that could really ruin their day? And yeah, Bitcoin had a fix and it was coming out. It was probably going to be okay. But the butterflies of all these other projects is totally unpredictable, and I don't know that JJ thought that much about it.
I think it's a very complex thing, but we knew what the talk was about, and we agreed with him, don't do any kind of irresponsible disclosure. This is a security conference. It's obvious that, yes, we're talking about breaking Bitcoin, but you're not there to, do some stupid things that will get people lose money.
Sure.
Some people are actually surviving thanks to Bitcoin. I mean, not necessarily us as the kind of people coming to these conferences, but some people are actually unbanked, and some people actually need Bitcoin to survive in whatever country they're in for whatever reason. You don't want a massive DDoS of the network just to prove your point that, hey, you were slow to respond to my responsible disclosure, so now I'm announcing it to the world in live stream.
Sure.
I mean, technically, people could have died. I mean, you don't know who is using Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that's not cool. That's really not cool. So that's really the major issue. Now, we had an agreement with him beforehand that he would not disclose anything, irresponsibly. So he could talk about the problem because it was already disclosed to the team, like to the core dev and stuff. The patch was ready, but it was not merged. So he could have explained the problem without going into the, running the fucking script in front of everybody. Which he did. And so that pissed us off, and sure, for him it was great, like good marketing.
Well, there was also a bit of a political aspect there. JJ and Bcash and Jihan, and maybe Purse was being paid, and there was this Bcoin, Bcash development they were doing. They did a lot of work there. Maybe they made a lot of money, and he did seem to try to point it as a political thing against the core developers, making a political point, unfortunately using your stage and so on and so forth.
So
it was a pretty questionable thing.
Yeah.
Fun from the audience, but yeah, more questionable.
So
in
some of the
reality,
sponsors reached out to us and be like, hey, so it's not just us, the conference now, it's also the sponsors that have been like, now they are assimilated to this. And they're like, hey, there is our name next to irresponsible disclosure of something. Not great, guys, not great. And we're like, well, we feel the pain, but what can we do? And so that was the first one, Breaking Bitcoin. Then at Building on Bitcoin, some people were also arguing about some of the talks. So it didn't do any kind of big mess as the JJ Breaking Bitcoin.
Yeah, good.
But there was some talks that might be too much of personal attacks in Building on Bitcoin as well. And so again, it's really hard. You can't review all the PowerPoint like 1 week or 2 weeks in advance because the people are building their PowerPoints on the same day.
I mean,
it's
generally, I don't even know if you can pay speakers, if you even have money to help cover expenses. I mean,
so at Breaking
practically volunteers really a lot of the time.
So at Breaking, we always cover flights and accommodations, but paying speakers is just not possible. It's already a shit ton of money to pay flights and accommodations. Yeah. But this is a risk. We're trying to do our best, and the review process is harder and harder. It's slower and slower. So now people are complaining to us because they've been applying like a month and a half ago, and I still haven't replied to, is your talk accepted or not? Because it's hard. But yeah, one thing for another, right?
So how did you go from hanging out with these Bitcoiners and learning about it to then running your own convention and being so involved in Bitcoin?
All right. So back in 2014, so after this, payment chip thingy, I started to work with a guy called Alex Berexazi, who is now actually an Ethereum core dev. So Alex was working in payment chips already, and that was cool because that's kind of what I wanted for my team in doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so we started working on hardware wallets, more specifically cold storage, so electronic cold storage.
Yeah.
So how to store your Bitcoin securely for the very long term, because USB sticks and stuff are a very, very, very bad idea for your seeds. So don't put money in USB sticks.
Yeah.
So we were looking at chips that were built to survive like 20 years, very resilient, secure from the hardware attack perspective, so security chips. And we were working on that. That was really fun, and we were way too early, and nobody wanted to buy it. So we burned a shit ton of money. That was a pretty good experience because at the time I met with most of the cool people, or at least the people that I thought were cool at the time in the Bitcoin space. But yeah, so Trezor and Ledger were both working on releasing their hardware wallet.
Yeah.
Trezor had done the pre-sale, but they didn't deliver yet. So we were all at the same kind of market at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
And that was a great way to discuss things with them. And it's a really good start. Starting to be known for trying to do things, even if it's a failure. When you're actually trying to do things and you're not just talking on Twitter, especially at the time, like 2014, the space was pretty small still. And so that was a great way of knowing people and stuff. And after that, I started working on Chainsmith, which is the consulting company I have. So that's how I pay my bills. So Breaking Bitcoin is not my idea. It's just a bunch of us on the French community called CryptoFR, which is a massive like blockchain community. It's like 5,000 people in the Slack.
Yeah.
So some people started to talk about conferences, and I was like, I think we really, really, really need a breaking conference. We need something to show that this is not a dream, this is not free money, this is not as secure as people think. It's still an ongoing project, and we have a lot of work to do. And a lot of people were also feeling the same thing, because sometimes the work of the core devs is underappreciated because people are complaining, oh, the UX is bad or the UI is bad. This is not the problem. The problem is that we need money that works. UI won't change that.
Sure.
Maybe it will at some point, but not now. So that was really a thing we wanted to try, and we reached out to a few people. People were super excited about it. Everybody pretty much joined in the idea, and we're like, yeah, we're going to do this conference. We advertised it only on Twitter, basically, just being like, hey, we're doing this conference. We sold out. That was the one in Paris, and we sold out. It was like super nice. So yeah, the organization at the time was myself, Pierre. So Pierre is still in the team. Elizabeth Stark, Nicolas Bacca. I think that was the four of us. And this year it's myself, Pierre, and Leah. So Leah is here as well. Maybe you met her earlier. I don't know.
We've got to do another yacht chain interview with Leah. We have to give her an update on her yacht chain investment. So
not this Leah, another Leah.
Another Leah. Okay, I'm sorry, my mistake. Leah. But no, that's great that you got the people together and you were able to start the conference. Interesting question. Why did you decide to move from like Paris to Amsterdam to Portugal to have it be a moving conference rather than just to stay in one place?
I don't know. I think the first one was in Paris for a different reason, but the main one is that the French-speaking community was behind the idea.
Yeah.
I'm not super fond of France, but it's the thing. I'm French, but
Paris was awesome. And
Paris
it was also,
awesome.
again, everything relates back to Mad Bitcoins and the Mad Tour. It was all designed so I could go to Paris.
For the first time, right?
For the first time.
I remember that.
And you could see the Eiffel Tower out the window, and I had to spend 3 days of the Bitcoin conference, and then I was let loose in Paris for maybe just a couple more days because it was still expensive and small and things. But no, it was fantastic. I got to go to
Paris
Mantra
was really nice.
And Monet's water lilies was really incredible. The ones in the 8 panels all around you in the circles, and just Notre Dame, all the buildings on the streets, and just walking around. And I had a great time in Paris. It was
the venue was just next to the venue was just next to the Eiffel Tower as well.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. You could see it out the window. I mean, Jimmy and I walked there from his hotel room that morning, and it was like Eiffel Tower, old buildings, ugly new buildings, old buildings, and it just had everything. It was very Paris.
So the reason, I guess, we just decided to start moving around like the other conference do, or at least scaling and others like that.
Sure, yeah.
But in the end of the day, I think we're always going to do it in Europe, or at least as long as it's better for us, easier for us, because we're based in Europe, most of us.
Sure. And Europe's awesome. So
Europe is not too bad.
That works out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not too hard to travel, especially for European people. You don't have the visa problems and stuff, so it's pretty great. And then there is also space for other conferences to be done in the US and Asia and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And they exist, right? So for us, it was really that. Try new space, new communities, and trying to move around. But maybe we'll come back to the roots at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing that it will be a different city every year. I just don't know. So yeah, Lisbon for the second year, for building on Bitcoin. The reason was that I was just moving to Lisbon, so that's where I'm based now.
Nice.
And now Amsterdam, I don't remember why we picked Amsterdam. I think it's just that Amsterdam is cool, so we're like, let's do it in Amsterdam. I think that's the reason, something like that.
That works for me. I like Amsterdam. Got some friends, can stay on the couches there, so I'm all set.
So yeah, I know there was.
What do you think about the future of Bitcoin conferences? Sadly, we were talking about this earlier. It wasn't too rosy. It seems like the kind of generic blockchain conference or the generic ICO conference is a lot more free to take any sponsor they want, not to have any ethics about it, not to have any concerns. So they might be doing really well, but I'm afraid on the other side, these Bitcoin conferences have to have so much of an ethics. And then the question is the community of businesses that are still there really supporting the Bitcoin conferences? Or are they just kind of, at such a bear market, they're just supporting themselves at this point?
Oh, gosh. So businesses, the aim is to make money, I guess.
Yeah.
So for sure, sponsoring a conference like Breaking Bitcoin is not going to bring you money directly. It's an investment in the space. I believe it's something you should do if you are dealing with any kind of handling of money. So Bitcoin is pretty much that. I do believe exchanges should be putting a lot of money in conferences like Breaking Bitcoin because they are the most vulnerable ones. And none of the major exchange is sponsoring it. So we have Bitonic, so that's a European exchange that is sponsoring it every year. It's the first one, so thanks to them. But yeah, it's still hard to understand, why don't they get that there is a need for security in this space? So yeah, this is a weird one.
Well, and it's also, I know that we're in the bear market, and people like me didn't plan ahead. I'm not a multinational corporation. Other people didn't plan ahead. But if you had stockholders and if you had money and you had a runway, I imagine you had a financial guy saying we should sell 30%, we should sell 60%. Some of them must be okay. And for the ones that are okay, if you support a conference like this every year, it will be there. If you start stopping during the down years, it's not going to be there for you in the up years. So I worry if we support the ecosystem only sometimes, that we're not even going to have an ecosystem at the end of it. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's a market. Everything is a market. Bitcoin is really anarchist in that sense, and this is great. We're not going to look for. We could actually probably look for like help from the government or whatever, Europe or I don't know, but we probably
France
could.
is probably pretty supportive. They have grants and things. I mean,
exactly.
I hear
we could
decent things.
We could spend time to look for that, but this is not what the community is about, and it's not what the event is about. So we prefer a community event organized by the people in the space for the people in the space. It makes it much better. It's also making much higher standards for us. So having sponsors that tell us, JJ is not something we are happy with. We're like, well, thank you, and that's great that you tell us that, because we already noticed it.
yeah.
But it's good that they expect us to have quality.
You tried to preempt it. It's things happen the way they happened, but you do the best you can.
But this is really good. That trying to be like a conference where the sponsors like each other, know each other, like each other. It's really great. The feeling is much better than when it's just a conference, a major conference where you can see every type of business, and being a sponsor there is just, I don't know, like to go to the yacht party or whatever.
Sure.
That's not what you get at Breaking Bitcoin. You just get your name on the slides, and that's it. And people are really thankful to you to be sponsoring.
And they'll remember you later. And I agree with what you said, that to sponsor an event like this or to sponsor a channel like this is a community action. And one of the problems that I have is that 6 months, a year ago, whatever, my views were great. Right, all the views were good, all the things, and this is when I should have sold the sponsorships or whatever. But now, much like everyone else, my views are down, the bear market's down. I still try to make good content. I think it's good content. I still make it a lot, but nothing happens with it. Things have changed. People like trading content now, and not much else. And they still like the this altcoin made me $1 million, blah blah blah, pretty girl video. These kind of things. They're still very successful. But we're still plugging along, like you say, to try to keep this community going. And we do need someone who's a large player in the space to do something like the Meta Cheese, or to be a patron, where you say, I'm going to support Leonardo da Vinci even if he doesn't make me any money. And maybe we can use one of those flying machine things. Maybe an engineer gets turned on by the ideas we talk about. But we need that kind of sacrifice, because if they just come to me with a marketing thing and they say, well, we're going to give you a code, and if people sign up with code 1234, you're going to get 10% of that. And that would be great if I could get anyone to sign up with that code. But everybody at home is just as tapped as I am. They probably lost in the damn market as well. They're not looking to buy anything with code 1234, even if it's a great deal. And there's very few of them and all those other things. We need that person who can see beyond it, look at our past support, look at what we think we would do if we had money, which is the same thing we've been doing, just being able to feed ourselves. And we need that. And I know a lot of the early Bitcoiners, for better or for worse, are very, very libertarian, very independent-minded, and they don't maybe have this community idea that we're talking about. But if anybody out there could develop and understand this community idea and come back and support us because you're an early miner, you're an early Bitcoiner, that would be great. It's never too late.
It's also an investment.
But it will be too late eventually. We're talking, I was going to go work at Subway. I'm going to be a sandwich artist. See, half of that is artist. You don't get to make a lot of choices at Subway. You put 3 pieces of meat on. If you put 4 pieces of meat, that might be an artistic choice. But the Subway Corporation needs a precise amount of meat on each sandwich. I haven't memorized it all yet, but I think I'm available. 10 olives, not 12. I'm very detail-oriented. So, I have a big future at Subway.
Yeah,
but not everyone has this to fall back on. So.
I don't know the standards.
You don't know how to cut the bread, man.
Not yet.
They changed it. Yeah.
So it's hard, if you have a business and you are looking at all your sponsorship as a way to have direct return on investment, sure, you might not understand why sponsoring conferences like Breaking Bitcoin makes sense. it's like that. You know, you don't have a direct impact. You have an impact over the long term because this is super important that the space move forward. Because otherwise, in 10 years, your business is dead when everything else is dead. So, you know, it's a balance.
It's a longer term play. They need to have more of a vision of themselves and the company in the future. And I know for those marketing people, I also feel for them because they need to get those results. And I've been there trying to buy a sponsorship or whatever for a company, and if I don't get the results, it's bad on me. And you know, a lot of times the company I was working for, we were trying to get people to buy things with Bitcoin, and it was the previous bear market, and nobody was buying anything with Bitcoin. And I tried to sell it as much as I could, and I believed in it. I really wanted to do a good job for them, and it didn't work out. I don't work there anymore. It's a bummer. But you know, but it's just one of those things. The market, you do the best you can. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, and sometimes it's just external forces.
Yep.
It's not something you can control.
So. It's not something you can control. It's also something like personally, I didn't really expect. The other guys at Breaking Bitcoin knew it would be a major impact, like the bear market.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised because I didn't think businesses would be that exposed to the price fluctuations. Like my businesses always have like mostly fiat because it's a business. I don't want to add on top of the risk of dealing with Bitcoin already to you know just add another layer and be like fluctuation in the price of Bitcoin can also
these
be
other
bad
people did. I mean, I know like the Ethereum people did, and then there's certain stories that go either way. Like I know the Augur guys sold a bunch of ETH early, and then everyone was like, "Why didn't you hold it?" Blah blah blah. And then other teams, like I've heard that the Lisk team did really well, and that they went up and they sold it into this, and they sold it in that. Now they have a great runway, and you know, even if no one uses their product, they can just keep working on it forever, which sounds pretty sweet. If I had that to keep doing my videos and to afford fantastic hotel rooms like the suite that we just toured, which costs as much as my airplane ride. But no, we don't have that. I mean, we're doing it now, you know, on deficit and on hope and on a little bit of donations and a little bit of views and a little bit of YouTube, a little bit of Patreon. And I appreciate everyone. And you don't have to do more. It's okay. $5-10 a month is cool. But I don't know how long we can do this. So,
I've been told we need to contact the B Foundation.
Hey, they were going to have grants. They were going to help out the community members, and all the best people were on that stage. So, yeah, let's contact them up. Let's put the symbol in the sky, B.
Exactly.
Get us, yeah.
Why not? Why not? So yeah, it's just the market will change if it continues to be a bear market. Because I don't believe it's the end, but you know, I can't predict the future.
I think this is the end. I mean, someone was telling me just a minute ago, they're like, yeah, this is the bottom. Like everyone's freaking out. You guys are freaking out. People upstairs, downstairs at this conference, everyone's freaking out. So this must be the end, either of the bottom, or it's the beginning of the end.
I think it's the beginning of the bottom. Of the bear market still. I think we can go much lower. People are not depressed.
You're a hyperwaver. Get this hyperwave out of here.
We're here talking about Bitcoin. How is that a bear market? We still believe in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you don't believe in it, that's the bottom. So yeah, I think we can still continue like that. So we should be ready, right? So next time we do a conference, we do it there outside, 10 people, and doing a mini breaking Bitcoin for 10 people.
Well, and that's the other thing. We've just got to cut costs. Like President Eisenhower says, we've got to reduce the standard or the cost of living. It was in this great book, On the Road. And what they were talking about is the guy was always quoting that when he would break into the military and steal their food. And he was like, President Eisenhower says, we've got to reduce the standard, the cost of living. Like he was doing it through stealing, which also works. So. I don't know. We need a positive note to end this on. Kevin, have you enjoyed Malta so far? Have you seen the forts or the sun or something nice?
I mean, you're lucky you just arrived today. So I enjoyed the rain.
It doesn't rain here. This is a fabulous beachfront paradise. I'm going to put my shorts on. We're going to go to the beach. There's going to be sand. It's fantastic year-round here. So
the good thing is that the happy hour starts like 4 p.m. in all the pubs. You get 2 cocktails for the price of 1. It's really cheap already, so it's like super, super cheap. So that's a great thing. Malta is really cheap for cocktails. So you should.
This is like recommending Portugal because the black tar heroin's on sale, and there's no laws. So come on down, Malta. We've got it all.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. Where can people learn more about the Breaking Bitcoin conference? They obviously need to go sign up and pre-order their tickets, right?
Yes, breakingbitcoin.com. Twitter is the only place where we talk about it, pretty much.
Hey, Jack Dorsey, Twitter, sponsor everybody.
We asked him, but
Come
we
save us.
We didn't get an answer yet. I guess we won't have any. But that would be typically, you know.
I guess you have to be Dogecoin if you want to talk to
stuff.
Jack or Elon Musk these days. So, well,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
breakingbitcoin.com tickets. I think the early bird pricing ends in like 3 days. So just buy it now.
Buy it now. Breakingbitcoin.com. Thanks so much.
There you go. Thank you.